Welcome back, everybody, to our second episode of the Southern Report. I'm Elijah Manley, your host. I'm here with our two co-hosts. We have Ryan Tucker and we have Martina Velasquez.
Hello.
Hello.
And I'm going to do another introduction in case those of you did not watch our first episode. I'm Elijah Manley. I'm 21. I'm here in South Florida in Fort Lauderdale. And I'm doing a podcast to talk about political issues, social trends, and everything else you might want to hear in the podcast. And I'll turn it over to whoever wants to go first on this.
All right. My name is Martina Velasquez. I'm a 16-year-old youth activist here in Broward County and in Sarasota County. I've been working with Extinction Rebellion Youth. I started the Extinction Rebellion Youth South Florida chapter, starting two nonprofits, work with tons of organizations. I could name them all, but no self-promo. Anyway, I'll pass it on to you, Ryan.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Ryan. I work in healthcare IT full-time, but I've become more and more interested in different issues outside of healthcare itself, and just looking forward to learning and hearing what everybody has to say.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to talk about a bunch of topics in this segment. We're going to talk about everything from coronavirus to Joe Biden and climate change. But we're going to start with coronavirus, which you all probably have heard a little bit of in the news. And I just want to get you guys' take on this discussion that we're seeing in the media right now with this new epidemic we're seeing with, thousands of deaths overseas and over 100 cases here in the U.S.
Yeah, I guess it's a little concerning, to say the least. I think just how fast it spreads, the fact that it has a very long incubation period, so you don't know really if you're going to be infecting anyone if you have it. That it can stay on, certain surfaces for a very long period of time. So it might be somebody who was, it might have been on this table, hours ago, and I'd have no idea. But really, I think a lot of it is getting a little bit overblown. Please, people, do not buy face masks. Our healthcare workers need it the most. Really, it does not help you much out in public. The biggest thing you can do is wash your hands. Really try not to touch your face. But those face masks are important for the healthcare workers. My wife's a nurse, so I'm a little passionate about that because they're the ones that need it the most for sure when they're interacting with that many patients.
That's true.
But yeah, and again, it's become sort of a politicized thing, which is always interesting. Trump's really taken it to, I think he's even said it's a hoax. We might have a clip on that later. But basically, again, he denies climate change when that's really studied science. This is literally a trackable virus that we know is out there and is spreading like crazy. It's spreading at a rate worse than SARS a few years ago. We really haven't seen an outbreak like this in a long time. It's going to take a long time to get vaccines out there. If you get it, the chances of people like us, really being greatly affected by it, probably pretty low. We'd probably be okay. But older folks, people who have problems with their lungs, that's really where the danger is. So it's
Trump
concerning.
and coronavirus. What do you think, Martina?
What do I think about Trump and coronavirus? I did read that Trump cut funding from the CDC and the new 2021 proposal that he's putting out for his future policies. I don't agree with that. However, I did enough reading to understand that it's because they've put more money into the CDC this year, which I find kind of convenient. My main issue with the coronavirus is, of course, Medicare for all and how a vaccine will be accessible to all people from different class backgrounds, and just really how we're going to be handling this without hysteria overall.
Right.
I was talking earlier to Ryan about it, actually. We were talking about I brought up how the flu had killed more people this year in the United States than coronavirus has throughout the entire world in this, flu season. So, I don't know. Just wash your hands.
Please wash your hands, people. Don't go in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I tell my younger brother and stuff, they love to go in the kitchen first thing out of the bed in the morning. Right into the refrigerator, and that pisses me off. Go shower, go wash your hands. Yeah. But this whole coronavirus, it's a little concerning because I've seen people say really racist stuff out there. It started out the racist hysteria first, and then now it's getting to the point where it's just a lot of people freaking out about it, and then you have Trump going crazy, calling it all hoax and everything, and all of that. And it's just it's a global health concern, and you see it, like you said, Martina, with the cuts to the CDC funding and everything. And people don't forget that Vice President Mike Pence, he was governor of Indiana, and he did one of the most terrible things with his cuts to public health. And you saw a direct correlation between his cuts to public health in Indiana and HIV infections increasing. So he's the guy Trump put in charge of the whole coronavirus situation. So I have a clip here of clip 9 of Trump talking about the coronavirus and what he thinks. Let's
now the Democrats are politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus. They're politicizing it. We did one of the great jobs. You say, how's President Trump doing? They go, oh, not good, not good. They have no clue. They don't have any clue. They can't even count their votes in Iowa. They can't even count. No, they can't. And this is their new hoax.
This is their new hoax, as if we had the power to create a hoax.
This public health epidemic, this is a hoax,
that
guys.
started in other countries.
How could it reach
know?
our country? Our
Like,
country's pristine.
The Democrats started
It was a plot by the Democrats when it started, on the other side of the world.
There was the Democrats in China, Chinese. He does this thing where he blames everything's a hoax. Like you said, climate change is a hoax by the Chinese. Now coronavirus is a hoax by I don't know, the Democrats in China. I don't know.
The Democrats in China. I'm dead. I don't even know. It's such an awkward situation to talk about. Like, this is the leader of my country, and he's calling a public outbreak a hoax. I have nothing to say to that other than he's the only one politicizing it at this point, saying it's the Democrats' fault. I don't think the Democrats even tried to politicize it. I don't even think they did anything.
Yeah, I think he's responding to Democrats criticizing his response to it. But yeah, I mean, this is just what happens when you elect someone who does not believe in truth and science. I mean, when it's all just about his game, this is what happens.
I mean, more than believing in the truth and science, I don't even think it has anything to do with that. Like, I think he can read research and be like, okay, these are statistics, numbers, like this
I
proves
hope
something.
so.
But I just think that his mentality that focuses on making money and big pharma and supporting millionaires contrasts like whatever belief he has in his head, if he could even come to one, and he just doesn't care because
I think he's a lot smarter than people give him credit for. I think he knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
It just doesn't affect him. But it's just like, this isn't something.
That's privilege.
This is something that affects everybody. This is a virus that could, that can happen to his children. So I don't understand how, this is something he should politicize, and this is not an issue. And then he put the guy in charge of it who really that guy.
That's
doesn't
insane to me.
Yeah.
That Pence is leading this effort. Yeah.
He certainly doesn't believe in science and climate change and anything. And I mean, his solution to this would be more gay conversion therapy centers.
or just praying for
just stop getting coronavirus. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just pray for the coronavirus to stop infecting people, and that's how it'll go away.
Our Lord Jesus, who will pray and go to church, and we'll solve this issue. I'm with President Trump on this issue. I had a clip of him, but it wasn't working. It wasn't working out well. I guess our servers here didn't want to hear it from the vice president.
But that was a pretty good summary, though.
It was. He basically just defended Trump. Like, Jake Tapper asked him. God, I wish we had that clip. But Jake Tapper asked him to pretty much defend Trump politicizing this. And he was like, well, the predictable voices in politics. And, I think what the president was saying is, his charge to me was that we got to get to work on this. That was his response.
Yeah. Well, and you hit on it a little bit, but I think it is really important to talk about the side for people who really can't afford healthcare right now.
Right.
I think, and maybe I won't even. I'll say the number that I think it is. I think it was in like the $1,500 range in order to just get tested for coronavirus if you do not have insurance.
$1,500.
I think it was somewhere like that.
I guess I'm dead if I get it.
Yeah, I knew it was at least more than $100. which, it's important for people to know if they do have access to community health care anywhere, if there's nonprofit hospitals or primary care centers that are around them, they will foot the bill for it. So you can still go get tested. Sometimes it can be hard to find those places, though, and a lot of folks don't know about those places as well. And really, if they see they're going to get hundreds of dollars on a bill, they're not going to want to get tested, and that's just going to make this problem worse and worse. And then if they do have it, forget about the paying for treatment.
Exactly. I mean, that's just one of the biggest concerns, is just the fact that we live in a system where we have privatized insurance. Therefore, people are just going to get sick and die, and that's just inevitable. And I think that's the saddest part. And again, at the end of the day, I don't think that it's that Mike Pence or Donald Trump do not understand the scientific consequences that come with coronavirus, or like the health consequences, the genetic consequences that will come to future generations. And they just don't care because they're still defending Big Pharma. Big Pharma is funding these campaigns. Big Pharma is funding these politicians to keep passing legislation in their favor, and that's the biggest problem, and that's why they don't care. They're just like, you know what, all the old poor people will die, and they're not even necessary, so just let them die.
That's
Right.
And it's the same with climate change.
Oh yeah,
For
It's
sure.
the same with climate change, and there's so many intersections between all of these things. With the whole coronavirus and climate change and all their responses to it. Their response to climate change is the same thing. For some of them, it doesn't exist, and to others, the solution is not to move away from fossil fuels. Is to cut carbon emissions, and even that is too far. We need clean coal.
we need clean coal. Is Santa making it?
Man, I don't
I'd
know.
be more down for that.
I'd be more down. I'd be supporting coal. But then you have candidates like Joe Biden, who, people would see as the antithesis to Trump. I don't know how. And they say, yeah, well, he's on the coronavirus. He's, talking about this, which to give him credit, he is. And he said he has a plan for it. But he's not that much different from Trump when you look at his plans on climate change. And we all know this. And you're with Extinction Rebellion. I know, Martina, that you're with them. And you guys, and you were with Sunrise, too, for a little bit. And I think
I work with Sunrise.
You work with Sunrise.
I started the Extinction Rebellion Youth
Right.
South Florida chapter.
So firsthand how Joe Biden, responds to young people who.
Oh yeah, all the time. We'll actually play some clips, I believe.
Oh yeah, well, Joe Biden talks about bullying. He talks about how horrible it is to bully people, and he had an ad that he put out where he talked about exactly that. We're gonna play clip 5 for you guys.
I remember guys like Donald Trump growing up as a kid, making fun of me for having a stutter, mocking and physically intimidating other kids. I've been standing up to bullies my whole life, and I'll stand up to this one. I'll be a president who lifts this nation up and brings us together, who understands that everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect.
Agree with
Shut
that.
up.
I agree with that too, except that's not what he thinks.
Yeah,
Plays
hold on.
clip 6.
Did he really just victim? Okay. This is not an ably. Oh, we're playing another
I
clip.
get things done. That's why I'm running. And you want to check my shape on? Let's do push-ups together. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's take my push-ups. Number two. No one has said my son has done anything wrong, and I did not on any occasion. And no one has ever said it. Not
I didn't
one.
say you were doing anything wrong.
You said I set up my son to work in an oil company. Isn't that what you said? Get your words straight, Jack.
But I hear on MSNBC all the
You
time.
don't hear that in MSNBC. You did not hear that. But you heard. Look, okay, I'm not going to get in an argument with you, man.
No, I don't want to.
Well, yeah, you do, but look, Fat, look, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
It looks like you don't have any more backbone than Trump does when you're
Any other questions?
Yeah, all right. I'm not voting for you.
Well, I knew you weren't, man. You think I thought you'd stand up and vote for me? You're too old to vote for me.
What does that even mean?
All right, here we go.
Do we get the right to vote taken away from us when we hit like 65 or something?
I think that's what he mean. I mean, just for some background for people who were looking at that clip, basically there was a gentleman there who was questioning Biden about the deals with his, between his son and Ukraine. We got the job at I don't even care about that anymore.
Yeah, literally.
But the guy was asking him a legitimate question, like, this is a corruption thing we want to ask about, whether you agree with it or believe in it or not. And his thing was, you're sedentary and look fat and get your words straight. And I'm like, what happened to all those words about bullying?
Yeah,
For real.
I mean, it's like there's a pattern. And if you don't believe that there's a pattern here, we got another clip for you. We got clip 7. So take a look, everybody.
I'm going to be a little bit mean for a second, okay? So you're arguably the candidate with the greatest advantage in this race. You've been the vice president. You weren't burdened down by the impeachment trials. So in the participation. So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but you're...
What?
Yeah.
Is that an expression, or did he make that up?
He says he got it from a movie, but nobody's been able to find the movie.
It's kind of creative, honestly, but
Lying dog
Jeez.
face pony soldier. So what was that
Lying
about
dog
bullying?
face pony
That's how
soldier.
you treat the people who are just trying to ask you legitimate questions when they're probably considering voting for you. It's
You're a lying dog face pony soldier.
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing.
Look fat. I mean, he has a whole history of doing this, and unfortunately, getting close to the end of this segment, it went by so fast. But what do you guys think about that? Like, this bullying. I mean, like this is the guy that Democrats want to put up against Trump.
I mean, I don't think he's gonna win. So
yeah, I don't
that's
think
kind
he
of my
stands
stance on
a
it.
chance with like his debate performances and things like that. I think he's gonna get torn to shreds.
Yeah.
I mean, credit where credit's due for Biden. Affordable Care Act was great at the time. Of course, now he's not for Medicare for all, which would really put the country where it should be. But yeah, I think he's getting older. He's declining a little bit cognitively, honestly. And yeah, he just that's so strange to me that a person who may have voted for him, who was just asking him a legitimate question, he treats like that.
Imagine how he treats. I'm not even gonna go there. But
Don't go there.
But we're reaching the end here. But I want to leave you guys with this clip of, clip 8 of Joe Biden and what just a little compilation of what he says to voters. Take a look.
I'm going to support you if you win the nominations. We got to get rid of Trump. But what are we going to do about climate change? Now, you say you're against pipelines, but then you want to replace these gas lines. That's not going to work. We got to stop building and replacing pipelines. You got to go vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much, sir. We're going to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm going to vote you in the general if you treat me right.
I know. Well, I'm not.
Well, can I have a
Look,
picture?
you're asking a picture of me. You're coming up and telling me you don't support me.
No.
My plan. Yeah, you did. You said
I said I will support you in the general.
in the general. I'm looking for a primary.
We're happy to
and a
get a number.
caucus.
You can follow up.
That's what I'm looking for, okay?
Just because
Now,
we're trying to get.
You believe that Bernie can do something by 2030?
I'm actually supporting Tom Steyer.
Thompson, well, that's good. He's the guy that did
Thanks
more
so much,
coal
sir. We
mining.
have a long line right here.
He got a more coal than the entire country did.
All right, thank you. We're happy to get
You're the right
Can we
guy.
get a picture?
You should vote for Trump. You should vote for Trump.
You got the right candidate in Bernie. You got the right one. Well, and Elizabeth, or whoever you have, that's a great thing.
Tell you what, if you look at my record and you still doubt about my commitment, then you should vote for somebody else.
I'm scared for my family in California who's suffering the really bad effects of wildfires. You say that climate change is your number one priority, but you're starting to take super PAC money from the fossil fuel industry.
We need someone we need a Green New Deal, not more corruption.
Thank you for admiring me so much.
What about
Just let him go. He's an idiot. Let him go.
You're a damn liar, man. That's not true. And no one has ever said that? No one has heard that?
I see it on the TV.
You see it on the TV. No, I know you do. And by the way, that's why I'm not sedentary. I get up and no, let him go. Let him go. Look, the reason I'm running is because I've been around a long time and I know more than most people know. And I can get things done. That's why I'm
very
running.
Trump-esque.
And you want to check my
I know
shape
that
on?
more
Let's
than
do
most people
push-ups
know.
together here, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's take an IQ. But look, here's the deal.
you're not taking super PAC money? How can we trust that you're not fighting for the people profiting off climate change?
Look at my record.
Look at my.
God damn.
It's the second time I see him. I watched that last clip of him downplaying a climate activist and calling them a child. The thing is that, just on this last note, we didn't get to talk about climate change too much. Hopefully we can come back and have a whole discussion on it.
Hell yeah.
I put my childhood on pause years ago to fight for climate change because I knew that if I didn't, nobody was going to do it. And nobody was going to help us. Because that's the response I get from people like the mayor of Fort Lauderdale. Or the mayor of Hollywood. Or we just don't get a response. These politicians don't care about our futures. They don't care about the things that we're experiencing or the marginalized communities that they're affecting, all for profit. And hopefully I can come back and give a whole segment on that, but that was just my last note.
Whole entire segment on climate change, but we are running a little short on that one. So we are going to, hopefully we'll see you guys back for the next episode. And thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
For sure.